Good afternoon and welcome to our broadcast. This program today is brought to you by the Citizen Participation Forum Baringo, the Danish Institute for Human Rights, and the Baringo Court Users Committee. Welcome to our broadcast. And let's get right into it. Today we'll be discussing Malta's alternative justice systems here in Kenya. The Constitution of Kenya 2010 envisions a critical role for alternative dispute resolutions mechanisms such as traditional dispute resolution mechanism. Article 48 of the Constitution guarantees the right to access justice, and Article 159, Subarticle 2, recognizes the use of alternative justice system to resolve disputes. In a move to curb backlog of cases in our courtrooms, the judiciary of Kenya, through its leadership, the then Chief Justice, Honorable David Maraga, on the 27th of August 2020, launched the Alternative Justice System policy that sought to mainstream customary, or rather tradition, as forms of justice here in Kenya. The move was highly welcomed, not only here in Kenya, but with the international community at large. With global organizations like the United Nations and the European Union commending Kenya for the step. The policy was symbolically launched on the 10th anniversary of the promulgation of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. And this afternoon, we beg to dissect into how the policy has enhanced access to justice. So to create context, we'll just jump into our conversation with our panelists here today. Mr. Godfrey Kipsoi, CPAF, Citizens Participation Forum, Baringo Programs Manager. Mrs. Eileen Limo, Accredited Mediator. And Mr. Josek Abwajo, the ODPP, Cabernet Law Courts. And our viewers across Baringo and beyond, thank you very much for joining us. We are honored to have you in this pertinent discussion on enhancing access to justice through implementation of alternative justice systems here in Baringo. Karibuni sana. And maybe to just begin with our panelists here, I would like for them to introduce themselves, to hear who they are and what they do from the horse's mouths. So, karibuni sana. We'll start with Mr. Godfrey Kipsoi. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Emmanuel. My name is Godfrey Kipsoi. I'm in charge of programs at Citizen Participation Forum, that's CBAF, Baringo. So, CBAF is a grassroots organization. It's actually a human rights organization based here in Baringo. And our main mandate is to increase access to justice and promote realization of human rights here in Baringo and beyond. And we are doing that in different, we employ different strategies, but most importantly, we are embracing a multi-agency kind of strategy to ensure that we pull in all stakeholders so that we can, together we can promote the access to justice. So basically at CBAF, we apart from using the multi-stakeholder approach, we also encourage community participation forums. Like what we are doing today is just a way of creating awareness around alternative justice systems. We also use civic engagement. That's where we engage state actors in the system. Also, we use research so that we can generate new knowledge in the field. So we normally also do research, disseminate information, and that's how we operate at Citizen Participation Forum. So basically, as an organization, at the moment, we are running only 2 programs. We don't want to pretend that we are doing everything under the sky. So we have 2 programs. The first program is Human Rights Systems and Access to Justice. And then the program number 2 is Gender and Governance. That's where issues of GBV comes in and all those. So that is brief about the Citizen Participation Forum. And today we are here courtesy of a program which we started in June. The overriding objective of the program is actually to ensure that alternative justice mechanism is fully implemented here in Baringo, but with adherence to human rights principles and other human rights frameworks. And so we are running a project known as increasing access to justice through implementation of alternative justice mechanisms here in Baringo. So our stakeholders actually, key stakeholders are the judiciary, because the judiciary is mandated by the law to implement the alternative justice systems. Because Article 48 gives mandate to the judiciary to ensure that access to justice for all persons is affordable, is accessible. So we are there to only complement what judiciary are doing and other agencies in the legal justice systems, especially both in the formal and informal justice systems.
Thank you so much. Karibu sana, Bwana Godfrey. So we will move to Mrs. Eileen Limo. What do you do? Who are you in general? When someone meets you out there, who are you?
Thank you, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
My name is Eileen Limo. First, I want to thank you for this time that God has enabled us to be together. I'm professionally an educationist and worked in various cadres in Baringo County, but now in Nakuru. So I am a accredited mediator, also one of the CUC in Baringo Law Courts. Now, and also I'm a professional counselor. Both mediation and counseling work together. So, as my colleague, Mr. Kipsoi, has said, I am a accredited mediator. And when we talk of a accredited mediator, it means I'm one of the alternative, we do alternative justice system. It is just but a method, which we are now looking forward to implement in Baringo County. In this mediation, as I said, it is done in other counties. Like, for example, I've been doing mediation in Nakuru, Nairobi, Eldoret, and Kitale when we are called upon. So because we are trained and we serve. But our work is alternative, not doing it at the court, but outside, that is court annexed mediation. Upon given the work to do, the matter, we are given by mediation deputy registrar, whom they are assigned the work at the law courts in those counties where they do that. And there is, before it moves to the law court, to the mediator, MDR, it has to be screened by someone. Not all cases are brought for mediation, but they are screened. And then the files are brought to mediation deputy registrar, where we are given to work on those cases. So that is what we do. And we work with other members who are accredited mediators.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so we'll move to our last panelist, who is Mr. Joseph Abwajo, who is the ODPP Kabarnet Law Courts. Mr. Joseph, welcome. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
yeah, maybe to start off as to follow the trend set by my predecessors who have spoken before me, I would like to say, first of all, that my name is Joseph Abwajo, and currently I'm serving with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions here in Baringo County. And the Office of Director of Public Prosecution was established under the Constitution. Article 157 provides for the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, and it also provides for the mandate of the Director of Public Prosecutions. And among those mandates that have been provided for is that the Director of Public Prosecution has the powers to institute criminal proceedings. He has powers to terminate criminal proceedings. He has powers to advise the government on matters to do with criminal justice, and even the ministry on matters to do with criminal justice. So in essence, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution is a gatekeeper in the criminal justice system. We are at the in-between the police, investigating agencies, and the court. We sit in between. And when we exercise those mandates as given by the Constitution of instituting, of taking over, of terminating, of authorizing investigations, that's something that also Kenyans don't know. It's the mandate of the Director of Public Prosecutions to direct the Inspector General of Police to commence investigation in any allegation or in any matters. So that is something, again, that members of the public have not been able to be aware. Some of them, they find that there is issues that are not being investigated, but they don't know that they can be able to report those issues to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution to be able to trigger the investigations by the police. And while exercising that mandate, we also do other things. And we started this issue of AJS just even before the courts were able to pick it up and launch it officially. For us, like as an office, we started the option of having what we call diversion policy. We implemented diversion policy. If you look at the diversion policy as implemented by the ODPP, it clearly allows cases that are not of serious nature to be dealt with outside the court system, because we encourage, and you look at our policy, we like say all cases involving minors, as long as someone is below 18 years and they are in conflict with the law, then what we do is that we encourage those cases to be dealt with by way of diversion. Yes, because what we are trying to do with that is that we are trying to limit interaction of minors or children with the law and the court system or the criminal system, so that they are dealt with in a friendly manner, in a way that they will be able now to appreciate, not to see like they are being punished by the system, but to see that they are being corrected by the system to be better citizens for tomorrow. So that is actually our mandate. We have two offices. We have an office in Kabarnet, Talai Plaza, where we operate from, and that is the headquarters for the county. And then we have a sub-county office here at Eldama Ravine. Yes, thank you.
Karibu sana. Yeah, so we may kick off our conversation by maybe just shaking up things. And since you are on the other side of serving justice, maybe to this other side, to the offenders and the dispute, who may be wondering, maybe have you guys ever been involved in any dispute? And if you have, how did you solve it? We must start with you, Bwana Josek.
Yes, maybe I seek your clarification. Sorry if I happen to be a little technical, because for us, we don't take anything on the surface. You know, when you say involvement, I don't know, involvement in terms of what? Like us being the victims or the perpetrators, or us being the players in facility?
No, you can be the perpetrator in this case, maybe.
And that one is a difficult one.
Maybe we may move to Eileen as you piece up your story.
Yes.
Thank you, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
I don't know what you really mean, but as per your sentiment, I can focus, but maybe back those days. When you talk of disputes, I can focus back in my years while in the village.
Yeah.
I remember my neighbors. One time we had the normal setup in the village, and my cows overnight went to my neighbor's farm and ate everything. They slept there the whole night. In the morning, the farm was cleared. So in the morning, my neighbor came with a panga looking for us. So what we did immediately, we asked them for forgiveness, but they could not. They persisted. So what we did was to go to the chief straight and the elders. After talking to them, they called the agriculture officer, and we were summoned. I and my neighbor, the chief, the elder, plus one of the religious leader, so that things move. So they talked to us, they convinced us, especially not me, but my other neighbor, the victim.
Yeah.
So after doing that for a while,
Yeah.
we came to consensus, and I was fined maize, 10 bags, and 1 bag of beans. And things, we shake hands with my with my neighbor.
Yeah.
And I think that was good because it was back in 2010.
Interesting. So, Mr. Prosecutor, can this be termed maybe as the way the justice was served? Is this, did they use the AGS? At that point, it wasn't launched yet, but can we term this as the alternative justice system way?
Yes. Yeah. Maybe just to let the people understand, is that the AGS was not introduced or was not brought about in 2020.
Yeah.
When the former Chief Justice did make a launch. The AGS has been with us.
Yeah.
It is an old system that even before, it actually pre-exists pre-colonial period.
Yeah.
Even before the colonialists came to Kenya or even Africa. Africans had their own way of solving
Disputes.
their disputes.
Yeah.
Because disputes is part of the society.
Yeah.
And it's only that when we are addressing this thing, AJS, in a formal system like this, we tend to narrow down and think that it was actually introduced or brought into our system in 2020. It has been there. It has been there, and people have been solving it. In fact, if you check the records, and because the records from these systems, it has been very evasive. And that's why sometimes we do not have documentation to be able to prove that to what scale has this been happening. But it has been there. People have been solving their disputes. In fact, the majority of disputes in the community is solved through alternative justice system. Just a fraction, around 1% maybe, is what comes to the formal system of dispute resolution, like mediation, what my sister talked about here, mediation and whatever. But in most of these issues, they are solved like the way she has explained. Your neighbor, you find that you have dispute with your neighbor, maybe your chicken went and ate something that was germinating, some crops that were germinating, and the neighbor crosses over to your place, and you sit down through this process, plus other people coming in to mediate for you that dispute or to arbitrate, and then you reach a consensus. And that's why she's saying she was fined. She was told now to compensate your neighbor for the loss, give him or her this and that. That way the dispute was settled. So it's the same thing that we are talking about. It's actually, that is actually the alternative justice system.
Yeah.
And even what the court is pushing for is that ordinary way of people solving their own dispute, the best way they understand.
Yeah.
So that they continue to be neighbors. She could attest to it that they are still good neighbors, even after now they solve that. What we are trying to remove is that this small dispute should not come to the formal system and then leave people way apart than they were even before. Because remember, our system is adversarial. By adversarial means we go for each other's neck. If you go to court, you will think that we will fight the next minute, because our system is crafted in the common law system that we inherited from England, which is in itself coached as an adversarial system. Adversarial system means, kama umenikosea, I should come for your neck. You see, that kind of system that we should not be seen to be smiling and we have a dispute. But the AGS is trying to say, you can solve your dispute and continue to be good neighbors. You can solve your dispute and continue to be friends. You see, so it is simply encouraging people to deal with the root cause of the problem, the best way they understand. Because remember, us in court, we deal with evidence. And you know, evidence can be very elusive. So we deal with evidence by what you come and say. And the trial, I normally tell people, it's a storytelling. Who tells the best story wins. It doesn't matter that it's the truth. Let me tell you, court system has nothing to do with the truth. It's about who tells the best story. And you see that best story, it can be choreographed. It
It
can
is
be
true.
worked out. And you know, a lie told consistent times, it becomes the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you see, what we are saying is because you live in the same village, you
It is
know.
true.
You
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
yourself, you know, neighbors know what happened. You also know what happened. So you don't have to put a mask and come to start telling us what we think we want to hear. Tell each other in that village, this is what happened. And because you know the truth, you will solve it there. And you know the best remedy to cure that. Sometimes the penalties, maybe we'll go to that later. The penalties that the court pronounces, maybe in some cases, they are not consummate to the offense. Yeah.
So maybe if you can just tell us, just using maybe 30 seconds, when they brought the alternative justice system, because as you initially told us, it was already there.
Yes.
And so many of us can attest to it, how disputes are solved in the villages and in societies. What is the difference that came about when it was launched? What formalities did it come with?
Yes.
Maybe you can
Yeah,
educate us.
the difference now here that people need to understand, the process of solving the problems is the same. But the difference that came in with the launch is that one, documentation.
Yeah.
There is the question of documentation.
Documentation.
Right now, it will be very possible once this AJS is fully implemented, and we believe it will be implemented countrywide, because right now there are pilot counties which are on the
taking-
trial stage. Baringo is one of them, which are on the trial stage of trying to see how this AJS works and how it can be effected and now be spread countrywide. But one of the key issues that came with is the need for documentation.
The need for
You see, the government right now does not have information. Like I started by saying, the government does not know how many cases were solved, like including hers.
Yeah.
The government does not have that information.
Information.
It does not know that this particular offense occurred and it was solved and the
In
parties
the
are happy and this was the outcome. And you know very well, information is key to planning.
It is true.
It's key to budgeting. The state will need at some point this information to be able to know which kind of petty offenses or which kind of crimes are prevalent in what area and which resources need to be deployed there. For example, the police stations. Does the government need to put up police stations, maybe to monitor that place? Does the government need to send more resources to that area, maybe to help alleviate that kind of crime? Maybe it is propelled by poverty or lack of infrastructure. You see that information, it will now be channeled. Because right now when CPAF here and the Court Users Committee will help to put up infrastructures for those elders who will be handling these issues. One of the things we have been discussing is the question of giving them the necessary infrastructures besides the knowledge and the equipment. They need now to be putting down what they have been doing. And then these things are channeled through to the court for purposes of record keeping and documentation. That is key. Another thing that Bwana Kipsoi talked about, it was the question of adherence to human rights. Most of these AJS, as it was happening, some of it, if it was to be left to be practiced the way it was being practiced by that time, it will offend the human rights. It will offend the entire Bill of Rights in the Constitution. Because remember, there are certain punishments that were being meted on the perpetrators after the Wazes have decided that were corporal in nature. And you know very well, in our country, we banned corporal punishment, all forms of corporal punishment. And you see very well our Article 26 of the Constitution talks about it is purely against any form of inhumane treatment and torture. So what does that tell you? It tells you that when we are saying now there is AJS, it means that we will also tell these elders and these people who will be handling these AJS that there is that person even who is a perpetrator like her. You remember she started by saying, and I'm borrowing from her because what she says is actually at the center of the AJS. The neighbor came with a panga. You see, so the neighbor wanted to administer his own justice. Then you find that also there was days when they sit before, you hear someone has been sentenced to be caned, to be given 30 canes. 30 canes is a corporal punishment. So we cannot allow that. So we are telling these people, yes, once you have listened to these issues and you have pronounced yourself to them, the punishment you come up with should be in line and in tandem with the law. You cannot introduce your own punishment. Because remember, the Constitution recognizes traditional mechanisms of dealing with issues as long as they are not repugnant with the Constitution and morality. You see? So they must align. And so our duty there as the facilitators is to show them that this is your limits. This is what you can be able to do within this framework. And then be able to document and we monitor so that we see, are there human rights violations? in that process? Are our wazees or are those elders who are administering this process going beyond their mandate?
Yeah.
Are they infringing on people's rights? So those are some of the new elements and aspects that came with this launch of the alternative justice system. Beyond what was happening, the process was there, but now there are key factors that need to be put in place so that we can be able to ensure that it's done. And then if you look also at the facets of the AJS itself, we have what we call, like what she spoke about, court annexed. We have court annexed AJS, and then we have that absolute AJS where people are just handling matters. The matters don't have to come to court.
Autonomous.
Yes, it's called autonomous AJS, where matters doesn't have to come to court. You originate your own conflict there.
And it is that.
You deal with it there, and then it may be through the secretariat that may be established. We just have the documentation. And we say, okay, so this was the dispute, this is what was resolved, parties are happy, matter settled, so the court keeps the documentation. Then there is the option where there is semi-autonomous, where the matter comes to court. Then midway, either the parties themselves can request that they be given opportunity to go and solve this matter through the AJS by a facilitation of other state players like probation officers, like children officers, like National Land Commission, like Registrar of Land, and whatever. And the court allows them to go and try to resolve it and then come back. Or the court can still also refer to a mediator and say this is a civil dispute or a commercial dispute. Go to a mediator or arbitrator, let's sit down together and say, you are able to resolve, and then you report back. Then the court adopts. So what the court does is to adopt your decision, the outcome, and the court now makes it as its ruling or its order, and it becomes enforceable. For example, you have agreed there on your own that you will pay 10 bags of maize, like she said, and then now they bring and say, this is what we have resolved.
The documentation.
This is the so the court adopts that particular sentence as the court's order, and it is documented. So it can be enforced if you fail.
Yes. Interesting. Thank you for that.
Manuel, maybe to just add what Obwacho is speaking to.
Yes.
It's actually, the policy has come with some guidelines on how AJS should operate. And there are 3 issues which are very key in the policy, that the actors should be able to respect the guidelines. And when we talk of respect, it also comes in like the autonomous. They should be, there are no non-state interference in the autonomous. It's like the elders, they do their things, they finish their things. But then they should respect the issue of human rights. The other thing also, the policy has come to protect the administration of justice through alternative justice system. By protecting means, definitely there are a number of policies and legislations which we need so that we ensure that we protect the implementation of alternative justice system in our country. So as we move along, definitely we need to ask ourselves, what are some of the international human rights frameworks, the regional human rights framework? Is AJS being implemented according to the existing policies and laws? And also, the policy has come to transform our justice system is served in our country by ensuring that they respect traditions, they respect cultures, because like in the formal justice system, most of the cases, almost only 20% or even less than 20% of cases they go through the formal justice system. But almost 90% of the cases, or maybe 90% of people get justice outside the formal justice system. So once we implement alternative justice system in the right way, definitely we are going to transform the lives of our people. People are going to get justice in a more affordable way. Justice will be very accessible. Like mediation is one of the doors for access to justice. So AJS is actually a multi-door kind of policy. So you can go through mediation Others can go through the formal justice system.
Yeah.
Others can go through the alternative dispute resolution provided by our cultures and practices. Here in Baringo, I know, like in Baringo, we only have 2 formal courts. Here in Eldama Ravine and Kabarnet. And a number of, like 2 mobile courts.
yeah.
And you can understand how big Baringo is. And each and every day, people are looking for justice. Because each and every time, everybody needs justice.
Yeah.
As
Dispute
much as even if you are in dispute, even if the dispute is a bit small, but then you are still crying for justice. So justice is everywhere. So that's why alternative justice system body is easier to transform
the justice system.
The traditions we have and all those, so that it becomes in line with our constitution and other human rights frameworks.
Okay, so maybe if I
Maybe,
can
sorry, Emmanuel,
Yes.
let me also say something or in line with what my colleagues have just
Okay,
talked.
just in a minute.
Yes. I just wanted to say that mediation is the same as ATS because all of them are looking for justice. The only thing is the method. It's like a cloth when you wear, the way we are here, but we do the same work.
Yeah.
So alternative, we are all looking for justice.
Justice.
In formal way. And the reason being is it is less expensive. It is also quicker way of solving disputes because when you take your case to court, it may delay and takes a lot of time mentioned and so on. It may take even 1 year or 2 years, of which if it was taken to 8 years, it would have taken a shorter time. So I think that was, I just wanted to add to what he was saying.
Okay,
Yeah.
if I can come back to you, Barak Psoi, the issue of the AGS, there are those players who play in the secretariat, like the religious leaders and the elders, the village elders, and the mediators who are in the center of the AGS, if I'm not wrong. So, like the village elders and the religious elders, is there a program of which they are censored to how the Bill of Rights look like? Because you can't tell me that a village elder knows how these things work. So is there a program that they are censored to how they will administer justice
Sure.
in this kind of way?
Yes. So at the moment, I think we call them actors,
Actors.
in the AGS processes. So we've got actors, a different level of actors. I know when we come to the traditional way of solving disputes, elders are at the center of it. And moving forward as an organization, I think recently we did a baseline survey, and from the survey it was very clear that most of the time when the elders are administering justice through the alternative systems, they usually come into conflict with the law. They usually come into conflict with our constitution. The reason being, at times they don't understand. If you talk of human rights framework, if you talk about our constitution, like in Article 10, we have very critical values which should be observed, like maybe human dignity, social justice. In Article 28, it talks about human dignity it is inherent and it should be protected. So when we go back to the way we are doing the AGS at the moment, or the ADR, at some point our elders come into conflict with the law. And Mr. Buache will tell you that at some point he's forced even to take issues with elders because actually they don't understand. So as an organization at the moment, I think we are working together with other partners, including the CUC, to ensure that we sensitize our elders, especially the actors of AGS, to have that broad understanding of the civic autonomy of justice system, which definitely would include maybe understanding of human rights issues, understanding of our constitution. Because if you go back to our constitution, the longest article in our constitution is the Bill of Rights. And at the moment we are working as an organization, we are trying to develop a resource manual, which actually they will be used by elders to get to understand what do we really mean when we talk of adhering to human rights when administering justice through the alternative justice systems. So we have a program which we are working closely with the CUC, and we have already started. I think Obwacho, we've started with the Council of Elders, the Baringo Council of Elders. I think recently we had a sensitization training which brought together 5 elders per sub-county. But then moving forward, we are planning for grassroots trainings for elders, maybe between now and December, so that when the Baringo model will be rolled out, then definitely our actors, especially the elders, will have that broad understanding of what we mean when we talk about we need to respect the HES, we need to protect the alternative justice systems, and we need to transform the system. So I think we are working with our program, but it's a progressive program. We will start from somewhere and then maybe progressively we'll move forward.
Thank you for that. Maybe if I may come back to you, Bona Prosecutor, there are those barriers to, you deal with so many cases here in Baringo. At some point, if the courts are limited to only here in Ravine and Kabarnet, what are the issues that are making people, the barriers that are making people not to access justice through your courts so that they may go back to the AJS? What are those burning issues? If you may maybe enlighten us.
Yeah, one of the things that, one of the key barriers that we have, and like Kipsoi was mentioning a bit earlier, is one of the things that Baringo is a vast county, vast in terms of geographical area. It's quite vast. Remember, we cover all the way, like the courts in Kabarnet, they cover all the way to Koloa. They cover areas as to Barpelo. They cover areas up to Churo. They cover Mkutani. They cover Mchongoi. They cover Tangul Bay. They cover Kapedo. They cover Chemolingot. They cover Nginyang. They cover all those areas, Loruk, Marigat, coming all the way up to Kinyach and turning back to all those areas of Kapkelelwa and all back up to here Baringo, up to even here Tenges, Sacho, this area, and leaving just the other places now like South and others for Ravine Court to cover. Then Ravine Court goes all the way up to Olkokwe, down there bordering Nyaururu, and coming back and bordering Nakuru and going all the way to Timoroa and the rest. So you can see the areas are very vast. And so far, like right now, the judiciary has only gazetted 2 mobile courts within the Baringo County. One being the Nginyang Mobile Court, which is covered by Kabarnet Law Courts, and Olkokwe being covered by Eldama Ravine Court. So you can see that distance is quite a vast area for one to cover. For example, all the way from Kabarnet to Nginyang is about 110 kilometers. And still when we get to Nginyang for mobile court, someone has to come all the way from Koloa using 2,000 on a motorbike, one way, and another 2,000 another way. That's so for a witness to come to court, even at that mobile court in Nginyang, he has to spare 4,000 shillings a day. And then you remember, that same court that has to go to that mobile court has to deal with some matters in Kabarnet before it goes there. So by the time the court gets there, doing that 110 kilometers, by the time the court gets there, it's around maybe 3 p.m. or so. And now sometimes of those cases may not even be complete. So what you are telling this witness who has spent 4,000 shillings on the motorbike to get there is that you are telling this person you will come back again. That is now another trip of 4,000 again. That is a total of 8,000. So you can see this distance, what it is doing to this person. What does that do to the justice system? People abandon cases. Not because they don't want to pursue justice. They abandon cases because it has become too expensive. What does that do again to the law? It's a violation of Article 48 of the Constitution, right to access to justice. Now, this person has abandoned a case which they will have pursued, not because they don't feel that they need that justice, but because that justice has become too expensive for them. Now, what are we trying to, how are we trying to navigate these barriers by these AGS? We are navigating these barriers by now ensuring that this justice is taken close to the people. How is it taken close to the people? Yes, the government and maybe the judiciary has a plan to put up courts. Almost the CJA the other time said in all constituencies. That is around 290 constituencies that we have at least a court station. That is a dream that will be realized progressively. But in the meantime, people still need justice. So AGS is coming in to say that, look here, you don't need to go to a formal court if your issue is not that serious and that grave to warrant you go all the way to the court. You can be able to be mediated and be facilitated within your community or within your village to be able to achieve that justice you are looking for. And that's why one of the aspects of the AG is that both parties must submit to the process for it to gain legitimacy. So it means that if we are disputing with her, it means that I cannot be the only one who says we go for AGS and she is not. Because if she is not submitting to the process, she will not honor the outcome of the process. So first of all, both parties are supposed to submit to the process. Once they submit to the process, then now they will agree with the outcome of the process. And how are we ensuring that to be done? That's why through the help of CPAF and through the help of the Court Users Committee and the AGS Secretariat and the judiciary at large and all other players, we have come together to ensure that people are sensitized. They know that this AGS is recognized by the government, it is enforceable, it is as good as that court in Kabarnet or that court in Eldamaravi. So that the people can submit to that process knowing that whatever the outcome here is as good as the outcome the magistrate or the judge will pronounce on the matter. So once that is done and the people accept and embrace the AGS, then now we'll see people who have dispute, like what she narrated was, they will go to these identified elders and submit to them to deal with that. So that this person doesn't have to spend 4,000 chasing a thief of one goat, which costs 4,500, so that he comes to Nginyang Mobile Court to pursue justice. He can still get this justice of this he's stolen one goat in Koloa area, whereby the elders come in and sit and they hear both parties, and then this person is told, okay, you stole one goat, pay 2 goats to this gentleman as a punishment, and you are done. So he doesn't have to incur, because by some of these people, by the time they come to court, actually they have spent more than what they are claiming. You see, because if someone stole one goat from you and you come to Kabarnet, for example, you are coming from Tangul Bay, where you will use like 800 one way, 800, that is 1,600. By the time you come twice, you've spent the cost of the goat. You see, so at the end of the day, you will not achieve justice as you wanted. Yes.
Okay, yeah, that is enlightening. So maybe if I may come back to you, Elaine.
Yes.
That is from the side of the ODPP.
Yes.
For you as actors in the AGS, what kind of barriers or challenges do you go through while trying to administer justice to the parties?
Thank you. Now, the barriers we always see is our people are not informed about the AGS, most of them. Because if anything comes out, they just think of the court. So most of the things is that we need to sensitize our communities. We need to sensitize mostly the elders. Mostly is the elders in the community. So that they sell the idea during barasas, community meetings, so that the community are aware of these AGS. Because most of them, even a small petty case, which would have been handled by the elders, when it is done, everybody tries to think of only going to the court. Even a small thing. It is so sad. Because as we started, we said that most of the cases, as our ODPP has put, most of the cases in our courts, because I'm one of the CUC, and most of our work is to enhance the strategies in our courts and to see the management of it. So you see, most of the cases which are there are heaped, and there are so many. Like the case of even a court at Fulani. I remember I went one time to sit there and listen. There was a boy who had, I think he wanted he wanted to kill one of the a court from a neighbor because of envy. So in fact, the person, instead of going to assess, straight at the parent or the person who which the court belongs, went to the court to report, and the boy was caught. So you can see such scenarios. That small case, it is me, I term it as a petty case, because that one would have the elders would have been informed, and the case would have been settled, and maybe 2 courts would have been paid for. And also, you see, the boy would have been talked and helped, because most of those things are drug substance. You see, we have a lot of drugs within us. And when our young boys see such things in most of the families, they do that. So I feel like one of the things, the key, is information, enlightening them. And that is why we are here. We want our people to understand that there is ATS, and there is also ADR and mediation. All of them are the same. And we need our people to come out and practice ATS as it is put across. ODPP has explained widely, of which I believe if really we are to implement ATS, we need to come together as a communities in our county and practice the same. You can see how wide Baringo is. You can see how the resources, and we have less resources in our county. When you talk of Jamalingot, somebody from Jamalingot moving to Kabarnet, it's too expensive. And the resources are not there. So I feel that ATS is the way to go to help our people, so that at least they are able to talk and implement these ATS systems. Thank you.
So
thank you
maybe, Emmanuel, if I may add.
Yeah, you may add.
I think mediation is one of the doors.
Yes.
Which is it's still a kind of a formal kind of.
It is informal.
It's informal, but it's a kind of a mixture. Because, so like if you come back to our tradition and you've actually asked what are some of the challenges facing the implementation of HES. If you come to our cultures, like Baringo, it's a diverse community. We've got different communities with different diverse cultures. And even the way they implement the alternative justice system, or ADR, it's also diverse. And in most of the time, our cultures, they come into conflict with the law. How we even execute or even enforce the decisions from ADR or the alternative justice system. At times, it comes into conflict with the law. The kind of cases we hear through the alternative justice system. So we still have some inherent challenges which are contributed mostly by our cultures, and that is why we need to increase the sensitization, the information bit, so that our people can start understanding when you are executing, you are administering justice through it, what are some of the things we must, what are some of the guidelines. So we want to popularize the guidelines, the HS guidelines, so that any actor can conform with the guidelines. And like for an example,
Yes.
in most cases, if you go back to our villages, when elders are sitting down the tree trying to solve an issue, maybe for an example, an issue of defilement, and most of those sittings, they don't allow women to sit. during those negotiations. They don't allow children. So where is the justice? Yeah, maybe the perpetrator, we have the victim. The victim is agile. At the same time, you don't allow that person to sit in that session. Most cases, maybe issues around land. Women, even at times, are not allowed to sit. If you go deep down there,
The
maybe
village.
Barweza, Nginyang, Bokot, even Baringo South here. Most of those cases, ukisikia baraza la wazee ama kuna kesi ya wazee, inamaanisha by the end of it all, the decision makers are men.
Amen.
So then it disadvantage the women and other marginalized group from actually being part of the justice process. So that's where the key challenge is. And even if you look back on the constitution of the Council of Elders in Baringo, we have 52. Only 2 or 1 are women. And they are saying we deal with maybe community boundary issues, we deal with big conflicts. So the system actually needs to be inclusive. It needs to be participatory. Those are some of the values in our constitution. And those are some of the challenges we are saying when we are implementing. Now the policy and the guidelines has come in to provide solutions to those challenges. But then that doesn't mean AGS has got no strength. There are so many strengths of AGS. Like for example, it's so restorative. I think ODPB has said it's very restorative kind of system.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Let me add, Mr. Emmanuel.
Yeah,
I want
maybe
to
in just a minute.
Okay.
You can add in.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Kipsoi, for touching on the issue of women.
Yeah.
In fact, in Baringo, women are we are not given opportunity and to hear our views in such meetings. So I think with 8 years coming, we are going to put in place that window of women also being represented. Yeah, so that at least when they are discussing issues, like we have so many things to be discussed, because most of them, it is only men, most of the time. So I think the 8 years will allow us, as per the guidelines and the policies which are in, so that women can be given position, and even the youth, when they are discussing issues. Yeah, so thank you. That's what I just wanted
Emmanuel,
to...
just before you move on, I think my sister did not use her full minute. Let me just add something and maybe discourage her from... I don't like her choice of words, because she is saying women should be given opportunities. Women should... opportunities are like resources. Opportunities are limited. Just like resources are limited. Women out there should, at this 21st century, towards the tail end of it, women should not sit and wait to be given opportunities. Women should take opportunities. They should go for the opportunities, because nobody will give you the opportunity. Just like resources, nobody will give you the resources. You have to scramble for that resource. You have to scramble for that opportunity. Women must stand out from whichever corner that they are, through the help of women like her, who are now enlightened and who have had the opportunity to be able now to be exposed. They should help the women out there to be able to stand out and be able to take those opportunities. This aspect of they be given, nobody is going to actually send any opportunity to you if you are seated down. You must stand up, you must speak, you must be heard, and you must demand.
Thank you for that addition.
Okay, so this has been your program, How Justice is Served, and it has been brought to you by the Citizen Participation Forum and the Danish Institute for Human Rights, together with the Baringo Court Users Committee. And if you're just joining us, we are having a conversation around the alternative justice systems here in Kenya, with the theme being enhancing access to justice through the alternative justice systems here in Baringo. I am your moderator, Emmanuel Langat, and I have with my panelists here. We will be taking a short break and we'll be right back in just a minute. Thank you so much. Keep Baringo News.
Right now in Marigat, Baringo County, a farmer is irrigating his farm that would soon feed a nation. The large-scale hay farmer in Kampiamoto, Nakuru County is making a fortune out of his partnership with the Kenya Seed. A coffee factory set up by a farmers' cooperative in Baringo North is set to start exporting coffee beans. The budding dairy farmers in Eldama Ravine, through collaboration, would soon be setting up their milk processing plant. And these tea factories in Nandi and Elgeyo Marakwet counties are yearning to expand, owing to the ease of paying farmers who supply them leaf. Workers at this flower farm in Njoro, Nakuru County, wake up every day to spread the love across the globe. And for this retail shop owner, his dreams are valid. One day, he will own a chain of supermarkets. There is a spirit in the sky that drives people to do more. It is in our customers, our employees and DNA. And it is another reason to look up to Skyline. Skyline Sacco, passion for excellence. There's always a way to do it better, they say. At Dreams Hill School, we think we found it. Each of our learners counts. Quality and attention to details. Learner and teacher contact are just a few parameters that define us. Because our learners deserve the best. This is not a story, but the experience at the Dreams Hill School. We don't just teach, but allow them to explore. To the parents, we are delighted that you're always considering us for your child's education, and we look forward to you joining us. Dreams Hill School offers a serene, secure, and a conducive learning environment for your children. Our interviews and vetting process are designed to identify each child's unique qualities, to learn more about their strengths and the best ways we can support them. Dreams Hill School is located near the Equator Crossing in Esageri, Eldama Ravine, just 40 kilometers away from Nakuru City, along Nakuru-Eldama Ravine Road. The school is a day and boarding primary school founded on strong Christian values.
Tunaombea Warumi 6:23 inasema kuwa kwa maana mshahara wa dhambi ni mauti, bali karama ya Mungu ni uzima wa milele katika Kristo Yesu Bwana wetu.
And ahead of January 2023, we are putting up a 3-story classroom complex and a boarding facility to accommodate the junior secondary school students. Our dormitory facilities are modern with spacious cubicles and bathrooms fitted with solar-heated showers. This ensures comfort and creates a homely environment to our learners. The school also has a dairy unit that ensures every learner gets a glass of milk daily. Welcome to Dreams Hill School. Dreams Hill School. Excellence is our pride.
And welcome back to our broadcast. Today we are discussing about matters justice and matters using the alternative justice system. This program has been brought to you by the Citizen Participation Forum, the Danish Institute for Human Rights, and the Baringo Court Users Committee. And we are so honored today to have those who have the expertise in the field of serving justice. Right from the top, we have the prosecutor who is leading the Cabernet Law Courts from the ODPP's office. We have Miss Eileen Limo, who is an accredited mediator. And we also have the Citizen Participation Forum's Programs Manager, Mr. Gideon Kipsoi. And to you, our viewers, thank you so much for being here, and we're so honored to have you in this pertinent discussion on enhancing access to justice through the alternative justice system here in Baringo. And maybe we just get back right into it, and we may start with you, Bona Prosecutor. How these cases which are forwarded to the alternative justice system, you know, we know you deal with so many cases, from the misdemeanors to the very highly contested cases. How do you choose these cases that will be forwarded to be decided through the alternative justice system?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much for that question. And I think I will start by maybe enlightening the members of the public and the listeners on various cases, especially from the criminal side, because we have two broad categories of cases. We have what we call civil cases, and we have what we call criminal cases. And under those two categories, again, we have subcategories of cases. For example, when you go to the civil part of the cases, in the civil cases you will find that is a broad category, because cases all over the world are divided into two categories. There are civil and criminal. And civil, just to help a listener who is out there and doesn't know exactly what we mean by civil, is that civil is a case where you have a conflict between yourself and your neighbor. And this conflict is one where either your neighbor has overstepped his boundary. For example, it's an issue of maybe land boundary. It's an issue of succession. It's an issue of succession is issues that deal with the family estate of the deceased member of the family and all that. And then you will find that there are issues about land ownership questions. So in that civil category where it's a conflict between a person and a person, you'll find that there's again other categories. You'll find that there is issues to do with the family, and that you find even in the judiciary system, the court has divided it. There's what we call family division, where they deal with the matters to do with the family. Family division covers issues like divorce, issues of succession, that is estate of the deceased. You find that they deal with that. Then you can find also they deal with the sometimes with the issues of matrimonial property and the rest. Then, still under that civil, you will find that we have what now we call ELC. ELC is Environment and Land Court Division. This Environment and Land Court is the court that is been given mandate and gazetted to deal with issues to do with the land matters, any issue arising out of land, whereby you are disputing issues of boundary, you are disputing issues of land ownership, someone has obtained title through fraudulent means and someone has taken over your land. These are issues that are dealt with under ELC. Then still under that category of civil, again, you will find what we call ELRC. That is Employment and Labor Relation Court. This is a court that is a division that deals with matters related to employment and the relationship between employer and the employee at workplace. So you see, again, because this is a very broad category, it has to be subdivided in order to be able to deal with the specific issues. You see, so and then you will now find the general, like now we still have also the commercial division. Commercial division is issues that a division that deals specifically with the matters related to commercial disputes. You know, there is issues, people have issues with KRA. You've been seeing in media issues with KRA. I don't know whatever. These issues, most of them, besides them having some nature of criminal in it, some of them are civil, find that they are dealt with the commercial. Issue. Sometimes someone has your debt and you want to recover this debt. Most of the time, what people don't know is that people don't know that a debt in its nature and in its form where you had a contract, it's not criminal in nature. Sometimes you find people go to police, mtu ako na deni yako, and then you go to the police, you report this person to the police, then the police goes and arrests, because sometimes also the police don't know. So they go and arrest this person. Na hii ni deni, civil in nature. Hawa ni watu wanadaiana. They should go to a commercial court and file that claim there, and then the court will listen and give their verdict. And then now there is also another subdivision that has been brought also in the effort to bring about access to justice, which is now called the Small Claims Court. Small Claims Court have now been brought in order to help again in that spirit of ensuring access to justice, that the judiciary is also launching to avail the Small Claims Court almost in every constituency, so that they can deal with those small claims, very small in nature, that you will otherwise take too much time and clog the normal system. So they are brought to be able to deal with those issues. For example, unadai mtu 10,000. You see, why go to the normal court system where there is 1,000 matters listed up to be heard, and then you queue on the line for 1 year or 2 years following up 10,000. Small claims have been structured in a way that they deal with those issues very fast and conclude them. So that in essence, it's an area that covers the civil dispute side or the civil cases side. Then you come now to the side where now I am and where the ODPP is concerned, which is now the criminal side. Now, in the criminal side, we have other two broad categories of cases. We have what we call felonies and misdemeanors. Felony is any crime that attracts more than 3 years in prison. And it's a crime that offends the public at a larger scale, and it has a very severe punishment, and it attracts a lot of outcry or a lot of condemnation from the public. So it's that main case that it attracts a term of more than anything beyond 3 years. We consider it as a felon. So we have that, and then we have misdemeanors. Misdemeanors are these petty crimes, offenses that attract up to maximum of 3 years. And you will find that even now when you go to probation and aftercare, you'll find that any offense that attracts a sentence of 3 years and below, a person is allowed to be put even on probation or community service order. So these are petty crimes. They are actually petty crimes, issues that involves maybe, say, assault, common assault maybe. Common assault, you find there are issues that maybe we call creating disturbance. Those are some of the cases that we classify as misdemeanors, because a case like creating disturbance is a case that attracts a maximum sentence of 6 months. We have cases of like trespass. One thing people don't know about trespass is that, trespass attracts a fine of 500 shillings. People don't know that it is just that small case, but they make a big fuss out of it. So those are some of the cases that we consider to be misdemeanors and felonies under the category of the criminal cases. Now, for selection of cases to go on the AJS, from where we sit as the ODPP, I think all misdemeanors are a fit for AJS. All cases that are classified as misdemeanors, they are fit for AJS. For felony, we have to tread carefully, and we have to evaluate on a case-to-case basis. we cannot just because a felony, as I told you, it offends the wider public.
Yeah.
It attracts wider public condemnation. It attracts a lot of outcry from the community, and therefore you cannot just subject it to people in a village to be able to come out with the outcome of that. And that's why where, like, if you go to areas like in Northeastern, or here you call it Kipka, and in Northeastern they call it Masla, and whatever, you go there, you find that they have made attempts even to solve murder cases in such forums. We have been against that because we find that a case like murder is a capital offense. And a capital offense is a case that is a case that attracts even up to life imprisonment for someone.
Yeah.
So imagine if someone commits a capital offense and you subject them to a process like that, whereby most of these people, we are simply giving them some basic knowledge, even in the legal process, but it's not sufficient for them to analyze issues and ensure that justice is done. And most of the time, we on the ODPP, we prosecute cases in order to safeguard public interest. So you'll find that sometimes this public interest may not be safeguarded if we subject most of these felonies to that process. So you'll find that there are cases like, for example, let me just say the cases that are, we feel that they are off the hook for such kind of process of AJS. Cases like grievous harm. Grievous harm is a case where you inflict a permanent injury on a person. Permanent in that it means that this person has been assessed by the doctor, and the doctor have said that this injury, this person will live with it for the rest of their life. You see, it's an injury that you will be seeing. Like, for example, we had a case where someone had been chopped the hand, and the hand was thrown. This person, they came to court, they find that they want to withdraw the case. You cannot allow that. Because this hand is chopped and it's dropped off on the ground. We have to ensure that the members of the public, or again, the deterrence factor is also able to be also adhered to. Because again, the purpose why we also prosecute people is to deter the occurrence of a crime. So again, grievous harm is a case that we are very slow to have it considered for AJS. Defilement is out of the question. Defilement is a case that people need to understand. That even the OCS has no powers to give someone a cash bail at the police station once that person has been arrested for defilement. There's no such powers to grant even this person cash bail at the station. So this is a case that it's a case that offends the public interest and the public morality to an extent that the person involved is a minor. This person has no voice of their own under our legal system. And they need the state to be there to protect their interest. Because even when you say now these people will be sitting and discussing, and I think we would enumerated on this by saying most of these barazas and most of these elders councils, these young people are not represented. The women are not represented. And also, who is purporting to speak on behalf of this child? It can only be the state. And that's why we are saying for defilement cases, once it has been reported, in fact, if you look at the coaching of the Sexual Offences Act under Section 40, you will realize that it says that once a claim of sexual offense has been made to the police station, once you walk here as Bwana Emmanuel, the moment you walk to the OCS Eldama Ravine here, and you tell him, I want to report a case of defilement, and you are at the OB, the moment you place that report and you say, I have seen Bwana Josek, or I have information that Bwana Josek has defiled this girl AJO, and that report has been taken down, and you've been given the OB number. That matter or that investigation can never be discontinued by the OCS. It can never be. Under Section 40 of the Sexual Offences, it is only the Director of Public Prosecution who has the power to say that that investigation can now come to an end. We have no suspect, or we have the suspect. But the OCS cannot say, I have looked into that allegation and I have found it is not merited and I have closed that investigation. He has no such powers. So this investigation, once commenced, where the OCS has doubt whether the person alleged committed the offense or whether the evidence is sufficient or not, the law allows him to submit the file to the ODPP office for purposes of that file being perused and an advice given to him on what to do from there going forward. That is now what the law provides. So that one, again, it's off the table for AJS. Murder cases, we have been against them being put on the table. Because even you remember, Bwana Emmanuel, even at the time of the Old Testament, even God got tired of the sheep's blood. Remember, he said no, because people made a fuss out of it and made it like God become a fool. Like I will sin and take a sheep on the mountain on Mount Sinai and slaughter it, and I'm forgiven. So God said, no, wait a minute. You slaughtered so many sheep. Let us now say you atone your sins by yourself. You see, it used to be very easy because you're not the one feeling the pain. You sin, you run there, you are told, pay a fine of 10 sacks of maize or bring 10 goats.
10 goats.
And a girl has been defiled. She will live with the guilty. She will live with the issue of defilement, because even there's no mechanisms of even taking her through the healing process. So we are saying defilement, get it off the table. Murder, we are saying that killing someone is a very sacred thing, especially in the African setup. So we cannot just reduce it and trivialize it by saying put it down for a few people who have no much knowledge on intrigues of such magnitude cases, and decide and say by what you just committed, cross a few ships from this village to this other village and the matter is settled. No, we are saying the society needs to also to be deterred and be told that murder is not encouraged. Otherwise we will kill ourselves until nobody is left. That is one thing that we need to look at. And then now let me go to cases that can easily make their way to AJs.
Yes.
I've started by saying creating disturbance. Creating disturbance is someone who is drunk, maybe went and got drunk and made noise to Kipsoi's home. He shouted here and there. Kipsoi was disturbed with that and he feels aggrieved. And he reports to the police station that this person was creating disturbance. That's a case that is well established to be taken to the AJ, whereby Kipsoi will be called. Told, okay, you say this person made some noise at your compound or when he was passing next to your house. What do we do? Then Kipsoi will say, okay, this is what I think. That person will be asked, what do you think? He will answer. Questions of cases of malicious damage. For example, we have so many cases of malicious damage in Baringo with malicious damage to property, which is the property in question is defense. The underlying issue is not defense. Some people think when you have a malicious damage case and you bring it from the criminal front and you report to the police and your neighbor who destroyed your fence because you are disputing land, they think that when this person is arrested and taken to court, then when the court says this person is guilty, then eventually the court will also say land is for you. You see, that is where the notion, because if you go deeper, you will now start interrogating the issues. Utapata, the person who is bringing that case of malicious damage, he says, mimi nataka shamba yangu. You see, that is a wrong forum. That's again where our people are not getting it. The criminal court cannot arbitrate on a matter and declare the owner of the land. It will deal with punishing the offender. If this person indeed destroyed your property, what the court will do is that if it finds him guilty, the court will sentence him to a jail term or to a fine. You see, but it will not touch on the question of whether the land is actually yours or that person. So, but most of our members, our wananchi from Baringo, when they bring this claim, their end goal is normally to think that the court will speak to the ownership of the land. The only court that can speak to the ownership of the land is the ELC court, Environment and Land Court, which has jurisdiction to be able to hear the parties who are disputing on ownership of land. So the criminal part, our interest is to punish the offender. You see, if found guilty. So that is another case that can be dealt with AJs, because one thing we are encouraging again with the AJs is to go to the root cause of the problem. And who is better placed to understand the intrigues of ownership of land than those wazes who have lived there, than those people those neighbors who have been there for those years. So malicious damage is a very good case for AJs. Another case that we are very much recommending for AJs is what we call forcible detainer, which is a case closely related to these issues of malicious damage. But forcible detainer is where you enter someone's land and you stay there or you remain there without the permission of that person. And we normally say without the color of right, which means you have no reason to believe that this is your land. Like right now, I just walk where you live and I come and put a structure there and I remain there. That's forcible detainer. You entered someone's land without their consent, without their authority, and without any right whatsoever within the law for you to be there. That's another case which can be dealt with in AJ mechanism. Simple and common assault cases. Nimekuslap. We had an argument. I slapped you. It is also a case that is well fit for AJS.
AJS.
You see, it's a case that is well fit for AJS, because this is a case where we'll go and sit down and say, okay, I had temper, and maybe we can take you, because one of the issues of AJS that AJS can recommend is mandatory counseling. We can say that, okay, because you have anger issues and you cannot argue with the people without slapping them, you be taken to
Counseling.
so that you be guided on how
They come
anger
to me.
management. You see, another case that we are also saying, it is cases that are not in themselves aggressive or violent in domestic cases, which are not in any way that are not fatal, whereby just a spouses are having their own whatever, and maybe you are not allowed to beat anybody, even if that person is your wife or whatever, but you end up slapping that person or maybe hitting that person, and a case arose out of there. What we are encouraging is that we want to maintain the family unit and ensure that the family is not broken. We ensure that the family remains there. But also, again, in ensuring that the family remains united, we also don't want also to cover abuses within the family just because you want to maintain the family unit as a unit. We want to ensure that when you are remaining as a family unit, there is peace and tranquility within that family. So if there is any dispute of domestic nature that can arise into a criminal nature, or they have arisen into a criminal nature, and they are not fatal or life-threatening, then they can be dealt with in that state. Cases of threatening to kill, that's another case that is good for AJS. Maybe someone was just angry with another person, and they decided to say, well, utaniona. You see, they are not fatal in their nature. Those are cases that people can sit down and say, okay, this is what made me tell you that, or I didn't mean it, and whatever. Then you shake hands, and then the story is gone. You see, cases of robbery with violence that are off the table, because these are cases that offend the public at large, and they offend the public interest. People want to live in peace and whatever. Cases of stealing, like goat, what we just discussed a few minutes ago. Someone stole one goat from you. If this person goes through the process and they are able to pay 2 goats, why not? You are able to talk, and they say, okay, let us compensate you for your time and loss, whatever. Let us pay you 2 goats, we settle this matter. Those are some of the cases from the criminal front that can be dealt with. On the civil side, cases of land dispute. In fact, right now, if you look at the issues of land adjudication, those are the issues that have been going on around in Baringo. This land adjudication, let nobody cheat you that the magistrate sitting in Kabarnet or Eldama Ravine, or the land registrar or the National Land Commission employee will know them better, or the person working in land adjudication will know better about that land than the people who live there. Those are the cases that are fit for AJS. And that's why you see even in our system, there is those appeals to the minister and whatever. The cases are heard from the chief's level to the DC to the until you go to the DCC or something like that. This is a process that ensures that people who know the history of that particular land, they are able to arbitrate on it. Matters of family disputes on issues of inheritance and whatever, these are issues that can be dealt with by AJS. For example, we have seen siblings taking each other to court to fight and contest the estate of their deceased parent. And sometimes these contests become protracted to an extent that they are not ending in their nature. They become endless. These are the issues that they can be sat down by the wazes, respectable religious members of the society, arbitrators like my sister here, and they tell them, look here, this dispute will not help anyone. We can sit down and reach an agreement. Because you know what people don't know about succession and disputes in relation to inheritance. If you reach a point where you cannot be able to agree how to distribute the estate of your deceased relative, what the court will do is that the court will appoint a person we normally call a receiver, who will collect the whole estate. And because land you cannot distribute equally. Can you distribute land equally? Because someone has 10 pieces of land located in Emining, Saos, Kabarnet, and wherever. Land is never the same. It may be the same acreage, but land is never the same. Land is unique. Land is unique because a piece of land located in Emining along the road and a piece of land that is located inside in Saos down there is not the same value. It does not serve the same purpose. So since it's so difficult for the court to decide that Emmanuel, you take the one in Emining, and my sister here, Limo, take the one in Kabarnet without looking to be unfair, the court will appoint a receiver who will collect all the estate and then sell it on auction, and the money realized, pesa ni rahisi kugawa. It's very easy to distribute money equally. If you are 10 and we have 10 million, it means everyone goes home with 1 million. So you may end up losing properties of your deceased relative because you are unable to agree. Because this person, they will sell it at a first sell price.
Yeah.
If the land was going for 1 million, they can sell it at half of the
Half
price.
a million, yeah.
Yes, because they want to get the money, take it to court, and then the court says, okay, how much is that? This much. Divide by this number of people. Yes.
And resolve the matter.
And the matter is resolved. So people need to embrace those processes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that. And if you're just joining us, you can join the conversation through our social media platform, Baringo News and Urban News, and the CPAF Baringo. Drop your comments there, and you can also contact us through 0799 030 030. And as we are going on with our conversation, there are a list of cases that the prosecutor has listed them. Maybe if we can just know from...
Maybe, Emmanuel, I want to make maybe a rejoinder from where ODPP left. Maybe about the types of cases to be handled.
No,
yeah.
Okay, so maybe I can ask the question then.
Yeah.
You can proceed.
I just want to know the cases that he has listed that are fit for AJS. How do they go to the mediators and the arbitrators? Do I have to go to his office first for me to be allocated and told that I have to go and talk to the wazees from my village? How do these cases come to you? Do I have to go to court first, or can I come to you for the viewers' benefit?
Thank you, Emmanuel. On the part of mediation, I being one of the accredited mediator, and I've been given this by the law courts of Kenya, and my name is also listed in Nairobi law courts, Eldoret law courts, Kitale law courts, and all the other branches where we have the mediation going on. So what they do after the cases, as he has put across, those who are for maybe the civic cases, which are, we have the commercial and the civic, those ones which are to be taken by the mediators, they do what we call screening. There is a person who goes through all the cases and looks upon the cases which are supposed to be done by mediators or the HESs. So he screens, forward them to the table of the mediation deputy registrar. There is an office in law courts where there is an office for mediators, we call it MDR. So these files are dropped there. The mediator deputy registrar looks at the names. Now he appoints. They write to us, they appoint us. Like, for example, have been appointed, if there is a case, they give me an appointment that, Madam Limo, you have been appointed to deal with this matter. And they give me the matter. And those who have been handling, like the advocates' names, in the two parties, the two of them. And I go through the matter. So we get them through the mediation deputy registrar.
Okay, so my case, I forward it to, I go to the court system first, then they are forwarded to the AJS.
Yes, if your case has been there for a length of time, like the cases he has put across. So, for example, the ones for land, they look at it, they screen. If the case is able to be handled by the mediators, fine. Yeah, so but not criminal.
Oh, okay.
They don't.
I think
the criminal ones, they don't. But because this is informal, yeah.
So thank you for that. Maybe coming back to you, Kipsoi, what you are adding to what the ODPP was saying.
Yeah, so maybe generally, I think there is a going concern and a going on discussion at the moment whether criminal cases should be part of, should be solved through the alternative justice mechanisms. And if you go back to Article 50 of our Constitution, states that maybe the Constitution guarantees the right to have disputes resolved in a fair and a public hearing before a court or independent and impartial tribunal or body. So if you check on the different models which we are using at the moment, we have the autonomous HAS model, which is purely run by the Council of Elders, run by the elders, run by appointed HAS actors. Like for an example, the model which is being used in Kajiado, there is a committee which at times the hear cases can be brought from the court to the HAS committee in Kajiado, or maybe the HAS committee in Kajiado can forward cases to the court. So it's a two-way traffic. We've got different models whereby it started from the justice seekers. Who is the justice seekers? And I think ODPP Obwacho put it very well that for HAS mechanism to happen, the parties should agree that which direction should we go. Should we go the formal way, or should we go the other alternative? So if, for an example, we have a council of elder which the community believes that it's impartial, that the community believes that it's independent, then it means a number of cases can be solved through the alternative justice systems. Like even here in Baringo, we still have communities whereby they solve cases of murder through the alternative justice system because they still believe in the traditional way of solving disputes. They still believe that their council of elders can deliver justice even more than the formal court. That is why I'm saying there's an active discussion at the moment within the formal justice system and other actors whether issues to do with criminal should be forwarded to the alternative justice system. But the underlying principle or the pillar of it all is that are the parties willing to settle their issues using the alternative justice system? That is number one. Number two, do we have an impartial body? Do we have maybe, which is actually whereby the community have confidence that the Council of Elders, we have confidence in this committee to handle the cases. So that is why we are saying at the moment we need to, as we move along and implement the alternative justice systems, we need to be alive on some of the constitutional provision. We need to be very sensitive on maybe conforming with principles of human rights, like inclusion and all those. And like I said earlier, maybe at the moment we are in the process of developing a model for Baringo, because I think ODPP has mentioned that Baringo is part of those counties whereby the National Steering Committee are trying to model a purely autonomous kind of HAS system. I think it has never been done elsewhere in our republic. The reason being is like Baringo is very unique. We still have very strong cultures, and even here in Baringo, people still believe a lot in the informal justice system. That people, you can easily get justice kwa wase pale. So I think it's an active discussion and maybe moving forward. But then it's very evident that we have those cases which can be dealt directly through the alternative justice system without even further discussion. I think ODP has highlighted it very clearly. And I think coming ODPP, I mentioned it to you that we still have communities here in Baringo who solve cases of defilement through what? And it should be very clear that that's a criminal issue. And next time hao wazee wakikuja huku unaweka hao kwanza ndani so that we now start the process.
That's very true.
So maybe if we may come back to you, Eileen, because you are highly involved as a mediator. You are highly involved in the decision making for these cases, whatsoever case that it may be. And there are these the ODPP has spoke about it. He has spoke about it. There are this issue of the rights that are usually violated in so many times. Maybe if you may highlight to us the kind of rights that are violated prior to this HAS being introduced, the kinds of rights in terms of maybe even the women not being present there for this decision making and other players. What are the kind of rights that are being violated?
Thank you, Emmanuel. Most of the cases which I think I should talk of what I've handled,
Yeah.
because those are the ones I know more.
Oh, yeah. That would be better.
Some of the cases which I really find the issues of land, as Buacho has said, issues of mostly. So I've done that, and so let me put in order. One of the cases are land, domestic issues,
So
family issues, yes. And the ones I've seen, even the one I have now, I've seen, it is land on estates.
So when these cases are solved, maybe prior to the AJS coming through,
Yes.
we want to know like the rights that are being violated. Which is this decision that I make that some people are affected?
You mean the rights which are affected?
Yeah.
The way he has put across when he was discussing, I think most of what he has said has been said, but let me put across this way, that most of our people don't follow the right thing, because they violate it. Even if they've seen it is right, they just push it. They push at times. They want it to be seen, or they demand it, even if they know there is a right. And so when you put the two parties together and discuss, being you being the third party, you find that most of the things they discuss is you let them know and understand their rights. You put this party, let them understand their rights. The other party, let them understand their rights. So that when you bring the two parties together, they are able now to rewind their minds. You see, what is disturbing most of the people is the discussions outside. But when you bring them, especially when you let them sit down and let them be themselves, now they tend to rethink and think about their rights.
Yeah.
Because I remember one case, when you are seated, they bring wazes, so when you are discussing, first let them be themselves.
Yeah.
So that they understand their case. And take one party, each one at a go, so that they understand the scenarios they are. So that when you bring the other one, they are able now to discuss and come together and harmonize their issues. And that is now the way to go. Like most of those issues which my friend here has mentioned, those are the cases we have been handling. And so if ATS is in board, because I know most of these things, if we put together, if we implement and put together the elders, synthesize them, train them, let them come together and do this ATS, surely we will solve a lot of cases which are being heaped in our courts. And especially, let me mention, especially in the lower parts, where there are no lack of, they come from humble families, we have no food, we have no, the uchumi ni mbaya. So we will help them. Those wazes who have been identified in those areas, will help them a lot. Okay. And even in these cases of cattle rustling will be solved, as my Mr. Kipsoya has put across.
Yes.
If these communities identify people who are, unajua, there are people believe, huyu akisema ni ukweli. So if we go to those elders which people know, if so and so is there, things are going to be okay. So if we can have those elders, then even the one which you have said, the criminal case, is going to be solved. Okay. And even what is going down in our lower parts will be solved.
Okay. Thank you for that. And if you're just joining us, this is Baringo News and Raven News. We are having a conversation around how justice is served and how we can enhance the access to justice through the alternative justice system here in Kenya. The alternative justice system is a traditional form of way to serve justice in our communities and in towns at large. And we are privileged to have the expertise in the field who are enlightening us on how the alternative justice system works here in Kenya. Maybe if I can throw the last question before we go to our last remarks. It's not even a question. Maybe we just, if need be, we want to know if this alternative justice system, does it in a way seem relative to the system that maybe they use in Europe, the jury system? That is to you, Bwana Prosecutor.
Yes. I wouldn't like compare it to the jury system per se, because the jury system, it operates differently, because the jury system operates within the court system. The jury system is the comparison to the jury system is like what we used to implement sometimes back here in Kenya on the serious or capital offenses like murder, where we used to have assessors. And people come in, sit in court and listen, and then they draw their own verdict, which sometimes is parallel to what the court will arrive at, but they are just people who come in and observe. So the jury is actually a combination where the parties to a dispute identifies 12 people who are laymen, who are not people with any knowledge of law, who are laymen, because their purpose is to come out and try the facts. The juries are trials of facts. So they only they listen through cases, they apply the common man's knowledge on the street to how a common person will have looked at the issue. And then they return a verdict whether that person is guilty or not guilty in their opinion. And then now the court, which is now manned by the judge, who is now a person who is knowledgeable in law, will now pass the sentence, because the sentence is purely legal. So the jury in the Western world, specifically in the US, it operates in a different perspective from the AJS, because now the AJS is where we are saying like matters will come up and they will be dealt with like at the community level. Yes, by people who are laymen in the law, but they are not necessarily selected based on the criteria that is used to select the jury. These one are just people who are there. They are respected in the community where they live, and they are given this mandate to be able to hear these cases. And the reason why that this system as it is right now, the AJS one as it has been crafted, and why Kipsoi was keen on mentioning the question of having guidelines. I talked about guidelines. I think it was informed by the fact that we need uniformity. You know, like in the old system, if you remember the feudal lords, if you are a good student of history, you'll remember in the UK there used to be feudal lords, and then there used to be a chancellor. And the chancellor was the one to pronounce the justice. And then people used to say, well, this justice is as long as the chancellor's foot. Nobody used to know like how, today you will go to the chancellor with a case of assault. Chancellor will say you pay 10 grams of maize. Tomorrow Kipsoi will go, the chancellor will say, no, you pay 2 kgs of whatever, or you pay 1 kg. So people need uniformity. So even in this AJS, we also want uniformity in how cases are dealt with. So that we don't have disparity. A similar case with similar facts in Eldama Ravine is dealt with different. But also again, in that system, we are underscoring the fact that we want justice to be what the community thinks it is.
It's true.
Or what the community feel is the justice.
It's justice.
Because again, what the justice means for the Aror in Baringo North may not be what justice means for Eldama Ravine people, the Lembus in Eldama Ravine. The people, justice means different things to different people. Here we want, when a case is sent to AJS, the justice that is administered is that one which the community believes that is justice to them. Because sometimes the court system, the justice of court system is the white man's justice. You see, it's not the justice that our wazees used to believe to be justice. But again, we are also putting checks and balances to ensure that that justice that the community feels. Because again, if the community comes and say, because this guy killed, or because this guy went and ensure that the neighbor's fence was broken and the land was stretched, now this guy should be killed. That's why we cannot allow.
Yeah.
We have to ensure that it's checks and balances.
Yes.
And then where the child is involved again, we are saying that we ensure that that child, the only person who can speak for that child is the government, and let the government speak for the child.
Yeah.
Because the parents can be compromised.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Prosecutor. As we come to the close of our interview, we will give each one of you to give us your last remarks. Maybe we can start with you, Bwana Kipsoi, or maybe enlighten people about the alternative justice system and the programs that CPAF looks forward to in creating and sensitizing both the public and the actors in the alternative justice system.
Yeah, thank you, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
I think as we move forward, I think it's very clear that alternative justice system has been with us for a long period of time. And moving forward, we only want to strengthen the alternative justice system, and we ensure that the way communities feel that that's justice, let it be justice, but then it should be in conformity with human rights framework, should be in conformity with our constitution, especially the principles of our constitution in Article 10. So maybe moving forward, we are keen ensuring that we activate the awareness programs around alternative justice systems, because actually what we do as an organization, as a human rights organization, each and every day we wake up, we think about protecting, promoting human rights, and promoting access, enhancing access to justice. So we are going to dive into maybe doing more research in the field, especially at the grassroots level, so that we can better understand what does it mean, what does justice mean to different communities, the way your coach is saying. And I think we already have our first baseline survey, and we are going to do more in-depth research in the field, and maybe definitely we will be sharing the learning over time. We'll share the best practices over time, and as we move on, I think we are going to have a more civilized way of administering justice to the alternative justice systems, and by so doing, definitely will reduce the workload of our courts, and we want to strengthen even the referral systems between the formal and the informal justice system, so that by the end of the day, the formal justice system should actually understand what's happening in the informal justice system, and the informal justice actors should actually understand in depth on the kind of cases can be handled, what are some of the kind of cases should be referred to the formal justice system. And our overriding idea is actually to come up with a very efficient kind of HS model here in Baringo. And I believe maybe moving forward with the stakeholders we are engaging, including even the National Steering Committee, which is led by Professor Justice Nguki, definitely will develop a very strong HS system here in Baringo, which is purely autonomous. And I really want to urge our HS actors, especially at the village level, let's maybe come out and seek for information, because it's a new arena whereby we as a community, if we embrace it, we will be definitely be strengthening restorative justice in our community, and we create harmony in our community. We coexist as a community here in Baringo, and issues of cattle rustling will be a thing of past.
It is true.
Issues of maybe extrajudicial killings will be a thing of past. And so maybe moving forward, I think that is our agenda as an organization, and we are keen on it, and we will amplify our interventions.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and to you, Madam Eileen.
Thank you, and thank you, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
This is a good opportunity, especially for me, to be in this forum, and I want to maybe say that mediation is the way to go, or alternative justice system is the way to go. I had said mediation is one of them, and this one is ongoing. Now we want to bring out this other system, as Chepsoi has said, that it is autonomous. And we really want it as Baringo citizens, because this will cap all the other issues of injustices. And we are going to move forward with this program to see that our people down there are getting the information and getting to know and understand that they should not die while we have people or communities or elders and the other actors who can help them come out of their injustices. I just want to say that I attended 3 weeks ago a conference in Nairobi, one of its run of mediators. And we had somebody from Rwanda, the prosecutor from Rwanda, and one from Uganda. And they talked the same. Alternative justice system is on. In fact, in Rwanda, they said, we are really practicing and it is special. We have no bulk cases as we are in Kenya. She really took us through sessions, and we understood more of alternative justice, that we need to go for this. So it is my wish that those of us who are watching us or listening to this, what we are discussing, please let us sell the idea down there so that our people can seek justices with the cheapest way, which is not expensive, which is also quick, and the issues are resolved quickly. Otherwise, I want to say thank you and welcome. We are looking forward also for the other ladies down there to come out so that we work together as a team. It should not be seen as if the elders down there are only men. We have also ladies. So ladies, come out so that we work hand in hand in solving the issues and helping our people, especially those who are going through injustice cases.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So, and you finalize, Bwana Prosecutor.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to thank the Baringo News team, and we will also like to thank those who have been following through the program, to be able to afford time and opportunity for this session to be able to do this sensitization and enlightenment. For us, from the ODPP side, we are ready to work with the all communities to ensure that our office, there are so many people, others who have reported matters to the police station, no action has been taken. Some of them have been frustrated, others have given up. We have an open door policy. They are free to walk in and make any manner of complaint they may have, and we can assure them that we will move swiftly and be able to respond to it. With regard to AJS, AJS is the new way to go. We are trying to ensure that people maintain peace with their neighbors, especially where it involves those minor offenses or minor disputes which can be dealt with. On matters of, this one I've repeated everywhere, on matters to do with the sexual offenses, especially defilement, please desist from holding kampunjis, desist from discussing these matters in the village, desist from suppressing these issues at the community level, at the home level, at the village level. And another thing is that the matters to do with the incest. Please, people of Baringo, do not cover incest. Incest kills a family, incest kills a community, incest kills a nation. Please do not cover issues of incest, because Emmanuel, issues of incest have been very difficult to prosecute because this is a crime that occurs within the family. And the witnesses and the perpetrators are family members. So you'll find that people are trying to save the name of the family rather than punish the crime. and be able to deter that, and also ensure that the victims get the justice they deserve. So we are actually asking the people of Baringo to be vigilant, and even neighbors. Let neighbors be very vigilant, because no family member will bring out an issue of incest that has occurred in the family. Let the neighbors take a proactive role and ensure that these issues are reported. Religious leaders, let them come on board. Schools, because some of these kids who are defiled and violated in this manner, they go to schools. Some of them, they are able to confine into their teachers, their classmates, their religious leaders, their neighbors. If this child comes and confides to you that something has happened to her or him within the setup of a family, just move swiftly and notify the relevant authorities so that action can be taken. This is to save our community. We are trying to save our community, because if these things are covered, then we are going to have a cannibalous community where people are going to be worse than dogs. Let us come out and let us speak and let us condemn and let us denounce these issues of incest and more so defilement within our community, so that we can be able to stand up against it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and to you, our viewers, thank you so much for being with us throughout this program that we have been discussing matters justice and matters alternative justice system here in Kenya. Thank you to our panelists for according us your time. It has been an enlightening 2 hours that we have been able to understand what the community can do through our elders and through the members of the community, together with stakeholders from the justice system and the mediators who are able to guide us to a just way. We have heard it from our prosecutor to the mediator to the programs officer at the CPAF. And with this all, we just urge all our citizens to try and embrace this new way of justice. It's not new, but it's something that has been formalized in a better way. And from me, your host, Emmanuel Langat, to our technical team here at Baringo News and Raven News, we say good thanks to you for viewing, and till next time, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.